Hey, Gabriel.
Hey, Gaybros Jose.
Where are we today?
We're still in Chicago.
Yeah, we're
together.
Still here. Yep, face to face, heart to heart.
Not at a dive bar.
The what?
Not at a dive bar.
No, not a dive bar. Not a dive bar.
The bars here are very loud, fun, and loud.
Yep. Yeah. Unfortunately, they are not the best setting for recording. Unfortunately, but maybe next time that you visit, maybe I'm going to be like finding some easier ones.
Next time we can go on like a weekday. I'm sure it'll be a little more calm.
Yeah. During the weekends, people in Chicago love to enjoy their weekends out.
And they're super fun. Chicagoans are super fun.
Yeah. It's what we're discussing today. As they have so many months of cold, they try to make the most of the very few months of good weather.
And I cannot wait for you to experience this winter. I'm so excited.
Wow, you're an asshole. But thank you. So what did we watch today?
Today we watched the 1997 classic sci-fi thriller Gattaca, starring Ethan Hawke, Jude Law, and my favorite, Uma Thurman. I love her.
She's the best.
I love her so much.
And this was actually your pick, if I recall correctly.
This was my pick. This came out of the conversation we had during the podcast with Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
We brought up like other sci-fi films that I liked because it's not my genre, but I liked some of them. And you brought up Gattaca, I think, and I was like, I forgot. I forgot, and I loved this film. I haven't seen it in a long time. I can't remember the last time I saw it, but I do own the the DVD. I fucking loved this film.
And you watched it like probably when it was released?
It came out in 97, so I would have been 13. I didn't see this film until much later. I would guess probably 2002-ish. So I would have been like 18, 20, somewhere in there.
Yeah. I think that it was like around this time that I watched it. So a bit older than you, but more or less the same time. It was like I didn't watch on 97. I knew of its existence and maybe I watched it in 2000 or something like that.
Is it rated R?
No, I don't think so. There is nothing here that it would be justifying.
I asked because I couldn't watch rated R movies as a teen.
That's
so
true.
Maybe I saw it in the 90s. I don't remember.
Oh, sorry. And as this was your pick, because it's actually my turn for actually trying to define this movie, what this movie is about.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, it's directed by Andrew Niccol, that we knew nothing about.
Yeah, and we actually checked the rest of his career, and there is nothing about it.
The Truman Show.
You like the Truman Show? Yeah, I like the Truman Show.
Other than that, like he did Simone, which I liked as a teenager. I did see that. I don't know that he did much else that we liked.
Yeah, they were going to be remembering him for. But yeah, Gattaca, as you mentioned, is a sci-fi story, pretty intimate, let's say. It's like only 3 characters and some background people, mostly. And it depicts a future where the normal is not having a natural kid. Not about like just leaving genetics to randomness, but actually you can select the kind of traits that you have in your kid and just making it the best version that he could be. As they actually say, is that you could have conceived 1,000 times, you will never get this result. So the idea is like in that society, people that they were designed, they are considered that they were engineered, they are considered valid, and people that they were conceived in the old ways, it would be called invalid and just being shown by society into janitorial positions and the likes. So the story follows Ethan Hawke. There is a kid that he was conceived in a natural way and tries to overcome his limitations and living his dream of just being launched into space and just going to Titan in a space mission.
Which is a moon of Jupiter or Saturn? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
I don't know that much about space. But
far
far away, deep space.
Yeah. They never go like too much into how they don't even care about like talking about the science behind space traveling or anything. It's like we don't care. This is about genetics. This is about like the discrimination that we're going to be like having and how this society revolves around it. And he works around thanks to hiring one of these genetically engineered persons that he had an accident and he can no longer live up to his full potential, and he basically impersonates him. He's always carrying like urine urine. Yeah, and blood. He has like a fingerprint with the blood already built in for just all the scans that they're going to be doing, and he becomes really smart about working around all the controls that they do in his work and just passing as an elite.
Yeah, basically he's pretending that he's not genetically imperfect by stealing this guy's... Well, not stealing, because he bought the guy's identity.
He's completely acknowledged. Yeah. Completely consented. And the story progresses, and when he's selected for one mission, and basically the story follows that week before he's going to be launching the mission. But the police starts being aware that there may be an invalid person trying to pass as a valid of the elite, because there is a murder in the
at Gattaca.
The Gattaca. Yeah. Gattaca is like the space agency. Let's say it's like the NASA. So actually, the main investigator, surprise, is actually his long-time lost brother. That he was genetically engineered. He always had a bit of inferiority complex about him, and there is a bit of a cat and mouse kind of relationship there. He trying to run away from the police. He has an affair with Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman starts suspecting of him. Then when she actually discovers that, hey, this guy is not the person that I think that he was, and probably he murdered someone at work, is when she actually ends up having sex with him. And then at the end is that they go to space in Armani suits.
Yep, that's a solid synopsis. And Maya Rudolph delivered him as a baby.
Oh yeah,
I just read this.
Okay,
I didn't recognize her.
Yeah. I was like just wondering, like, were the parents famous? You know, like famous actors, because the cast is good and they do a good job.
The cast is great. It's Ethan Hawke, Uma Thurman, Jude Law, Gore Vidal. Let's see. Elias Koteas. Oh, he's such a beautiful daddy. Maya Rudolph. I mean, Blair Underwood. Like, it's a crazy cast. It's a really good cast.
Yeah. For being on the 90s is that they actually were like pretty careful with selecting top talent, but at the same time it felt, and I think that we mentioned this briefly before we finished the podcast last time, it feels intimate and limited budget, let's say. They don't go crazy with the special effects. They don't go crazy with creating a world that is like really far apart from ours.
And we were complaining about the scale of Blade Runner 2049, and we felt like it didn't know what it wanted to be. Was it epic? Was it intimate? This film knew exactly what it should be. A very intimate like tale of Ethan Hawke making his way through Gattaca, falling in love with a woman, and getting eventually to go to space. That's it.
Yep. And I think that from that perspective works. It does a bit of world building, but only from the perspective of how genetics change our behavior. There are only, I would say, that 2 or 3 scenes that they only exist for telling you is like, hey, this is not only about these characters, it's about like the rest of the world, how it actually affected. Like the piano player with 12 fingers, however you feel, is like, okay, it's about like the point that people are even like just not groomed, but created for just being artists. You know, it's like someone maybe generations ago wrote a piece that requires 12 fingers for playing it, and it's like, I can imagine like some parents is like, let's have a kid with 12
they
fingers.
can play this piece.
Exactly. And it's going to be like the career, as long as he's good at piano, is that he's going to have a future.
And something you pointed out when we watched this, and I hadn't thought of it before, but like, there's nothing in this world that values like knowledge at all. Like, he could have not studied to join Gattaca. Yeah. He just got to join because he had the genetics that showed he was incredibly smart, very physically fit, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah. But then they were actually asking him to calculate course trajectories.
But because he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Not because he studied like astronomy growing up.
No. Well, they didn't ask him for academic degrees or anything. It was that part. It was a bit more of I feel like a bit weird about. Okay, you can hire him because of the genetics, but the genetics are not going to say that he has the knowledge. He has the potential for having the knowledge.
And Ethan Hawke, because he was genetically imperfect, he studied his entire life astronomy. Yep. And so when he joined with the false genetic like credentials, he still was able to deliver. In fact, there's this line that bugged me that he said, "Oh, I looked at your code, 1,000,000 lines, and there wasn't a single mistake." I was like, okay. That's like superhuman.
Yeah.
And these people are supposed to be basically superhuman in kind of a way.
Yeah, no, definitely. But beyond that, I like, for example, the scene when Uma Thurman steals the hair from him, and she goes to this agency where you can actually get someone, like genetically map, and they say, okay, what is the score of this person? And he's like, oh, it's a 9.3. It's like, it's amazing. But I don't know, you realize that the other girl that is next to her, is like, oh, I want to just get a test of my lips because I just kissed this guy, and I want to know if he's going to be like a good match. Is it worth it? Yeah. And I feel like that's cool. There's a bit of world building, that is a bit like out of place with everything else. Like compared to the rest is a bit more like minimalistic. We don't see like too many other people, but for me it worked pretty well about like, this is about these characters, but it's like we're going to be like telling you that the rest of the world is how it has transformed because of this focus on genetics.
And it's interesting because that scene specifically was a little bit gritty in the way Blade Runner is gritty, but that's the only gritty scene. Otherwise, everything is incredibly beautiful and polished and extremely elegant is the word I used yesterday when we watched it. It's a beautiful fucking film.
No, it looks like whoever did the art direction knew what he was doing. If there is another like a slightly grittier scene, that is when they are heading out from that ball towards the end.
Oh yeah.
And they're running away. Is that is on those chalets that is like, okay, now there is this contrast between like the elegant setting that you had, and it's like now that you're being, like hunted down for being invalid, is that we're going to be like just portraying those chalets, those dirty settings.
And it was actually very nice because that's when he was actually exposed to Uma Thurman, and she found out that he was a degenerate.
Degenerate. Yeah, the word is, let's just leave it there.
I will say that in my memory, this was a fantastic film. And when we watched it yesterday, I was surprised. It felt a little bit more like, what's the Elizabeth Berkley film we love?
Showgirls?
Showgirls, it's not that bad at all, but the way we were making fun of the film, it felt a little bit like that.
Well, but we actually were watching that movie together, and we rarely watch our movies together.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and besides that, it's true, we were not drunk or anything, but it was a bit more of a... Of course, we're going to be like just making fun of it. It's like our way of looking at this thing because we are next to each other, not because we don't respect the movie.
But also because there's a tremendous amount of plot holes, things that don't make sense.
Overexposure, looking at the camera,
exposition, narration, like the voice of God, things that just didn't make sense.
It was a different style. It's like these felt dated. As some of the scenes, they were like visually amazing. It's like, okay, you actually understood like the visual language. There are other things, other cinematography decisions that they felt, this is cringy.
And this is a film that sometimes we like a lot, that sacrificed substance for style. And again, it's an incredibly like visually appealing movie. Gattaca takes place in a building that was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. Like you said, there's no like spacesuits or anything. It's like a Tom Ford commercial almost. Like everything is super slick. When they board the spaceship to go to Titan, everyone's wearing suits like with ties.
Yeah.
It's
cool.
It is cool. It's very, very, very cool.
Yeah.
It just didn't live up to the memories I had watching this 15 years ago.
And I think that is absolutely fine. I don't think that there is anything wrong with that. We actually evolve as a person.
Yeah.
And
so is cinema. Cinema has changed. I think probably in 1997, this was probably like a very fine film. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And I think that it was a bit, I won't say avant-garde, but at least probably people recognize that from an aesthetics perspective, is that this is pretty sharp. And it's like now is like there are some scenes that they are pretty sharp. There are some others that we're like just making fun about, like why is the camera upside down here? It's like what are they thinking? When they're in bed. Why is that a specific take? Is that we actually became like a bit more critical because this actually doesn't fit the standards of the cool sci-fi that we have nowadays, like with Blade Runner, Oblivion, and other movies that we mentioned. That is a futuristic. It tends to be like just taking it to the extreme. about like how clean everything is, and how distant and analytical it is. Thank you, David Fincher, because I think that's also on him.
And you pointed this out when we were watching it. Well, after we watched it last night, you said this is like a very 90s style in terms of like there's a lot of voiceover narration. There's like very heavy-handed music, and I will say I absolutely love the music. But it's like telling you this is how you should feel. Yeah. Feel this right now. Yeah. Which was a little bit obnoxious in 2021. But completely worked in the early 2000s for me.
But I will tell you something, is that, and I was telling you later, I think they were on the street, is that this could have had the same effect with a bit more of a minimalistic and nuanced music. And this actually was using like the music from, I don't know, like big Hollywood time. From 40s and 50s, like, why are you doing something that feels so extremely dated when the rest of your aesthetic feels so crisp, like partially crisp, let's say.
Yeah.
But if you think about Blade Runner, the original one, with the Vangelis soundtrack, it was perfect. It actually creates a feeling without telling you, feel this. But when I was watching Blade Runner 2049, I felt like the music was trying to imitate the Vangelis soundtrack. Yeah. It was like, okay, it's a bit more, I can see like the parallels, you are trying to live to that. But there were points that I feel like, I feel like this music is like being beyond a bit too oppressive, and it's trying to make me feel something like a dread right now.
And also, it was the same, not score, it was the same theme. Like, every time we were supposed to feel sadness, regret, anxiousness, desire, it was the same theme over and over and over again.
I can tell you, for me, it was forgettable. Like the music.
The music?
Yeah. It was like just completely forgettable about
I can literally hear it in my head right now.
The Gattaca soundtrack?
I love that music. It's so good. It's so good.
Wow, okay.
It was overbearing, and like heavy-handed, but it's good.
I mean, it can be good, but the problem is like I see it's functional from the perspective of trying to make you feel something. It's like I feel like it's just at the service of the scene.
I agree, and something you actually pointed out last night, you said, I feel like this film could have succeeded without the exposition and without the sound, or without the music. And I was like, yeah.
And it would be a different movie. Yeah.
And we would have known what to feel. We would we wouldn't have been told. It would have been way better without Ethan Hawke's voiceovers, without any of the music. Yeah.
And it's like we actually made a parallels with Blade Runner originally when it was released. It had that kind of narration, the first version to the cinema, because the focus group like gave such a bad score to the movie. There's like, this makes no sense. We don't know what this movie is about because we are dumb. We are. Well, I don't want to say anything because maybe someone is listening in Los Angeles. But they actually had to remake that part and just adding like a happy ending, adding the narration from Harrison Ford, and it just feels like it almost feel, or this had a focus group and they say the same, or actually someone that was on the original Blade Runner, they actually collaborated on this movie, and they say it's like, let's add the narration just in case. Let's make sure that this is not why this is a failure.
Yeah, visually it's incredibly compelling. It's very beautiful. You mentioned that there's like a smaller budget, but if you're willing to suspend disbelief, it feels very like enveloping.
Yeah, because it's like sadly, I think that this movie succeeds on something that Blade Runner fails miserably. But it's like, if I'm going to be like doing a small movie, that doesn't mean that I don't have to spend a bit more of money. I need to actually just still build the world for just making it feel real and alive.
And I think it succeeded in that.
Yeah. And I think that Blade Runner is like, they didn't know how to, and it's such a weird thing to me, it's like there are scenes with a lot of people, but then there are other scenes that he's like completely by himself, and it's like exactly the problem with the proportions of the story, not knowing exactly where to stop, where to draw the line, and how to build a whole world. If you're trying to make like this world-changing story in Blade Runner 2049, it's like, do it, commit.
And I have to wonder, like, how different is it when you're given $5 million or $10 million to make a film versus the director of 2049 who was like, here's $180 million. Do whatever you want. Like, that has to be so like overwhelming, and I don't know, you have to feel such like, I don't know, pressure to deliver like insane visuals, whereas certain directors should only direct on a scale that's very intimate, and I think this director succeeded on that.
Yeah.
And you remember the Truman Show better than I do.
A tiny bit.
But did you feel like it? How did you feel about the scale and the intimacy of the story?
I think that it was good.
Yeah,
but it's like, I just think that actually the scope is part of the movie itself. You know, it's a bit more like the leitmotif of the movie is like just living a fake life in a studio, let's say, and it's like that. You already had the scope given to you. It's like this is what this movie is about. This movie is about the scope. It's not like about this story that it can be about anything. It can be about the wall. It can be about these characters. It can be about Gattaca as an institution. It could be about like many different things. And I think that the director was right into just choosing. It's like it's about the characters. I'm going to be like giving you a bit about the wall, but it's always at the service of the characters.
Yeah, I agree. And if you look at his other films, In Time. No, we can't talk about his other films. Oh, he directed Lord of War. I really like that.
Oh, you did?
With Nicolas Cage?
Yeah. I didn't watch it.
Simone was a disaster, but I loved it in 2002. Gattaca was his first film, which for a first film, this is incredible.
It was a commercial flop.
Gattaca was?
Gattaca. It actually had a budget of 36 million and it only made 12.
Holy shit.
Yep.
So I was thinking, so this came out in 97 and you asked me, was this a big film in America? And I was like, well, I was 13, 14 at the time. It wasn't on my radar in rural Idaho. But I hoped that at least in like other cities it was successful. Apparently not.
No, I think that it was a bit of a... But they still gave him more opportunities. I think that it's a bit more like sci-fi is one of those genres that if you have a success, it can be gigantic. You know, it can be the next Star Wars, almost.
I know nothing about the industry, but if I were an actor and I saw Gattaca as this director's first film, I would be like, I want to work with this guy.
Yeah, no, I agree, because it's a bit more that you are not going to be like making it about special effects or anything. You are making it about my acting. It's like I cannot sign on this.
In fact, I saw on IMDb the description said this is a sci-fi thriller, and I was like, that doesn't resonate with me. This is a very like intimate human drama, kind of a love story. Like it is a sci-fi thriller.
Yeah,
there's a lot,
okay.
But like it doesn't come across that way on the screen. Because most of the film is just about Ethan Hawke trying to overcome this bigotry that's defined now by science instead of like personal like opinion or preference.
But that's the reason why I think that it's successful. That is like it can actually it's a thriller, it's many other elements at the same time, and it does the world building. You know, it's like I think that on that aspect I think that is like the original Blade Runner. That is like it's good sci-fi. About like I have a thriller too also in Blade Runner, but it's like I'm doing the world building along the way. It's not, I think that Blade Runner doesn't try to be as intimate, or is intimate in a slightly different way than this. Is not trying to be like a character study, and it's like I think that this movie demands more from Ethan Hawke and Jude Law.
So now that you say that, I think I feel about this film the same way I feel about the original Blade Runner, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I can respect 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the perfect scale for the story. And much like Paris is Burning, where HIV was just a background thing, but the story was about the humans.
Yep.
It's the same here. It's a story about humans and love and like rejection by society. And the sci-fi is like a background thing. It just happens to be running like it's a thing that's kind of secondary to the story.
Well, yeah, that's true, but at the same time, it's like it's defining those characters. It's like you believe them, you actually roll with it. It's like a good. They have the correct elements for just applying suspension of disbelief. Albeit all the plot holes that they have when you start saying, and they're not going to be like just analyzing the sweat, or they're not going to be like, yeah, true, it doesn't make sense. Nothing of this makes sense. But it's a bit more like the premise is just, what about if there is another layer of discrimination that you cannot really run away from? Could you? You know, it's like just for sheer persistence and sheer dedication. Is like, how can you change that human nature of, if I have a dream, is like, why am I going to be like just discriminative? You know. So I think that it succeeds in that on that specific part.
Overall, I think this film succeeds. I still enjoyed it very much. I was surprised how flawed it was. compared to my memory, but I don't care. I still love this film. Like, I think I would recommend this. Well, not to get to the questions. I would recommend anybody watch this film, whether you're a fan of sci-fi or not. It's a good film. It has some flaws. Just be willing to suspend your disbelief, and you'll have a good time.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's an enjoyable movie. Even by nowadays standard, it feels heavy-handed. In some aspects, it feels dated. In some other aspects, or even the same. But overall, I think that it's still like quality sci-fi. You know?
Yeah, I agree.
And it's like the kind of thing that it has been refreshing to watch some sci-fi that it doesn't have the gigantism that Christopher Nolan or Villeneuve are displaying.
And Dune will have?
Oh yes. It's like, I don't know exactly why, coming from Enemy, you know, and then Arrival, that it was like, okay, it's big, but it's the kind of right balance that they are trusting him with this kind of projects. I think that they are like just big studios are fucking his potential.
Especially after Blade Runner 2049 lost $80 million. $80 million.
Yeah.
And they gave him Dune.
That is going to be like it may be another flop, honestly. And people are going to say that, well, people only want Marvel movies and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm on the same boat. It's like, I think that it's like Marvel movies is cheap entertainment, but the alternative shouldn't be this. The alternative should be like some kind of middle ground. The alternative should be like something like Gattaca, or something like Arrival, okay, or something like Under the Skin.
Oh, yeah, we should watch that again. Yeah, I really had very high hopes for Dune, and now after watching 2049, I'm like...
But it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if actually it's like as a society we are moving towards, we want more with capital letters. So I want something like bigger than life. I want more epics. I want more special effects. There is basically no special effects on this movie. When I talk about like digital special effects or anything, it's like, he actually uses like the finger stuff, you know, but it's... And he gets away with that. It's the 90s. That is like, what year was Matrix? 99?
I think it was 99, yeah.
2 years after this. And Dark City was like also 99, and there is like a lot of special effects on that movie. It's like, and Jurassic Park was in 94.
Wow. Interesting. But they don't even attempt special effects. I mean, you see a few like spaceships launch into space, and
that'd be like the only digital thing.
The only thing. Yeah.
But it's like, it doesn't need it. It can get away with not having it, and I find it impressive about like, hey, you can create this world, you can make me believe it, and you haven't used the cheating way that we have nowadays for building a world.
So, did you know the director wrote the script?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
That's super impressive.
Did he wrote also The Truman Show?
Let me check, because as we like to discuss a lot, usually directors should not direct their own writing, in our opinion. Yes, he did write The Truman Show. Wow. Okay.
And he also directed it, no?
Yes, he wrote and directed The Truman Show. He wrote and directed Anon in 2018, starring Clive Owen. I didn't see.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote The Host. He wrote In Time. He wrote Lord of War.
No, that's cool.
All right.
Good for him.
Simone,
No, he can actually... I think that it was the result. I think that it was a step above functional, especially for being the first movie.
So now I'm very curious about your score. Not that we have to jump
there.
No,
not yet. Yeah. Not yet. But we should go over the questions. I don't know if there is anything else that you think that we will require for summarizing.
I just have this question about whether I love this film because I fell in love with it in the early 2000s. I would be very curious to hear the opinion of somebody who watched it for the first time today. Just to hear what they think without the perspective of loving it from 15 years ago. 20 years ago even.
Yeah.
I still love this film, but it's not great. It's not perfect.
It's not perfect.
Yeah.
You know, but for being the first movie, I think that is, you know, okay, being created in the 90s and just having those problems, you know, it's fine. But I really respect like the part of just doing sci-fi, that it feels intimate and barely has any special effects.
Yep, I agree.
What year was AI? Oh, it was 2000, I think. It was later.
Yeah, it was later.
Yeah.
All right, so would you watch it again?
Yes, I think so. I think that
100%.
I mean, not today, but it's like if someone tells me, no, I want to watch something that is like sci-fi, is what you said, like just watching with someone for the first time. I would love to hear your opinion.
Honestly, I'm going to see my husband tonight for the first time in a week, and I would watch it tonight with him.
But he already watched it, no?
I can't remember specifically. I'm sure he's seen it. He's a sci-fi freak. This was a good movie. Would you recommend it?
Yes.
Yeah. With all its flaws, it's still so beautiful. And so... I just like this film a lot.
Do you like this film a lot, or do you like the Frank Lloyd Wright architecture?
No, I like the film. I like the story. I love the characters. They're fully developed. All of them.
Assholes.
Jude Law. They're all assholes. Everyone is an asshole in this movie, except Uma Thurman.
Yeah, but at the same time, she's willing to violate her ethics.
She is. And she shouldn't have, but she also took a bet on him being a good person, which he was, and she ended up betting right. So I can't judge her. She wasn't mean. Everyone else is mean. Everyone. Ethan Hawke
is super mean.
Yeah, they're assholes.
It's pretty interesting because a part of me watching this movie, I remember it would have been more like, hey, he's the underdog, but he has a good heart and he has, like the kind of right qualities for making it, and it's the wall. It's like, no,
that's what I remember. No, he's a fucking dick.
Yeah.
Just like everyone else.
He treats everyone, in the same kind of pretentious way about like, no, this is my right. I deserve this. That's great. That's the correct kind of mentality, but there is not so much humbleness or some kind of high road.
And it's not his fault. Like his parents, I was so upset by the scene when his parents are like, hey, you're a failure. You need to accept this.
Yeah.
Stop dreaming.
That part is bad, but within the part that I feel like when they're analyzing that is like, he's going to have a heart problem like around 30 years old. He's like, how do you want to call it? Anton. And he's like, no, Vincent Anton.
Because the dad doesn't want to give him his name, which is Anton.
Yeah.
Oh, because I was so disgusted.
He's a genetic failure. And the funny thing is, they're, how old are they? Like 30 years old, 32 years old?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, they're a bit above 30 years. Because he actually says, my heart should have failed already.
Oh, Ethan Hawke? Yeah, he's like 30, 31, 32.
Yeah, but he already outlived both of his parents. That is probably that he inherits the potential heart problems from them. And they died.
And also, he got a big dick, even though he wasn't genetically modified.
That's true. The doctor was I don't know, that was a bit of homoerotic kind of thing.
That was bizarre. What doctor is like, I see a lot of dicks, and you have a nice dick.
Good job. Good.
A straight guy with a kid.
It reminded me a bit of the joke on Parks and Rec about this character that they always change the name. Jeffrey, you're like the big guy. Like the older guy in the office. You watch Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, I never get his name right. I haven't seen it in so long. I know he's just like the goofy.
Yeah, he's the goofy, oh my god, I'm only going to screw up. Silly me. And when they actually meet up the wife and the daughters, there is a gorgeous wife, and the daughters are super smart, super nice, super genetically perfect. It's what is going on here? How can I have this? And then there is another joke. I mean, I remember this because I find the guy super adorable. Of course.
Of course you do.
Of course I do. Like a goofy big guy. No, my god, yeah, it speaks to my heart. But they're doing some kind of analytics or something, and there is a joke with the doctor, just saying that guy has one of the biggest dicks that I've ever seen in my life.
At some point, with the direction society is going, all of this is going to be completely inappropriate.
Probably yes. Well, I mean, we're gay. I think that is fine. We get the pass about just mentioning big sizes.
I think it's fine. Just society is going to be we can't judge a man by the size of his penis any longer.
No, we're not judging him. You mean the joke in Parks and Rec? Yeah. That one is a bit of a. They never connected, but it's a bit more because I think that is even in different episodes, but it's that comedy was okay, this. As is in a different episode because no, we're different writers. It's completely unrelated. We're something random that you were not expecting. It's true, but
Yeah, no.
This is what was going to say? So yeah, that part there is a bit of a homoeroticism about the doctor saying that and then talking about the song. Did I ever tell you about a song? Is this some kind of telling me like, hey, I'm not cruising you.
There's a lot of homoeroticism in this film between Ethan Hawke and Jude Law, and the number of times he like, I get that Jude Law couldn't walk, but like putting him in bed and like, there's so much, and there's a lot of love between them, which
at the beginning there is
the subtext is homoerotic. I'm just gonna say it.
No, it's fair, but
I wonder if Andrew Niccol is gay.
Maybe? I don't know. He's openly gay. But it's interesting because when I think of Jude Law, one of the first movies that comes to my mind is The Talented Mr. Ripley, that he also has, and that one has like a really open homoeroticism. When they're in the bathtub, it's like, okay, that's, there is no other way of reading this. In this one, it's like, I just feel it's like, well, they decided to just, basically they are the same person. And they are like just taking care of each other because the success of Ethan Hawke comes from the failure of Jude Law.
According to the internet, Andrew Niccol is gay. Andrew Niccol is gay.
Okay. Maybe he added a bit of, homoerotics for the sake of it.
Good for him. We enjoyed it.
Yeah. It may be a subtext. But yeah, should we go over the questions?
Yes, so continuing on.
Sorry.
Would you remember it?
Yes, I remember most of it. Yeah. I don't remember that he ended cremating himself.
But as we approached that, we remembered. Like, we didn't remember everything, but it's very familiar.
Everything. Yeah. When he actually says, like, hey, I already prepared this for a lifetime, it's like, yeah, this guy's not surviving.
I would also remember it. I will, Even 15 years later, I'm like, I remember Uma Thurman, I remember Ethan Hawke, I remember him getting the surgery to be taller, like, all of it. Is there anything artistic about this?
Yeah, I think there is something artistic. There are like some takes that I found impressive. Like the kind of takes that you will actually print and have in the wall. They're like that scene that they are in that outdoor and they see like just the symmetry of the building, of part of the building, and they are like tiny figures on the left side. I found like this is super cool. Is that this actually, if anyone shows me this picture, I would say like that's Gattaca.
I would honestly compare this film to The Fall in terms of visualizations, like the building of Frank Lloyd Wright. When they're in, I don't even know how to describe it. They're like in front of a dam. When she tells him that she's genetically imperfect, like that scene, when they go to the field of solar panels, it's all just visually stunning. Like this guy, I'm disappointed that he didn't create anything as stunning as this film that I've seen. I haven't seen all of his films.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is incredibly artistic. Is this a timeless piece?
Yes, I'm going to go with yes. I think that the sci-fi and the message that it has is good. I think that is good. And I think that it's not as problematic as other movies that they talk about discrimination. Like Pleasantville, for example.
Yeah. And I would say we commented several times, like, their guesses about what future technology would be were fairly accurate. Like electric cars with, like, charging, the smartwatches that weren't exactly what smartwatches are today. It's stuck in time where there's not the technology we have today, but the themes that are explored, it's completely timeless. Completely.
But the thing is, like, this is a sci-fi that you have done. I even think that it's like on purpose. It's a sci-fi that it feels like from the 40s or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a bit more like, look, we don't have even spacesuits. Is that he could have indexed on that part and just make it a bit more, okay, there is spacesuits, I'm going to be like just digging into potential kind of technology on this front and make everything way more complex, let's say. And he was like, I want to make something cool that looks futuristic.
Yep.
And using like the minimum amount of elements.
And the technology plays like it's second fiddle. Like that's not the point.
Yep.
It's there, but it's not about the technology. All right. So would you turn this into a TV show?
I don't think so. I think that this works because it's a small story.
Yep. I completely agree. Yeah. No, this is perfect in the scale and size and time it is.
Yeah, and I feel like the world that they build is cool, but I don't think that I need more stories about the world.
So, do you think this film could have been better?
Yes, we already discussed how. That is like just remove the narration, change the music, or remove it altogether. I was saying is like, look, something minimalistic like Philip Glass or something like that. I think that would have been like a bit more like creating a different kind of feeling, like making it even crisper, let's say.
I agree with that, and I would add that there were some pretty obvious plot holes that we could not ignore. I think the script could have been cleaned up just a little bit. There's not major complaints, but it definitely could have been better.
Yeah.
So now it's time to score. This was my pick. You have to score.
This is super freaking hard, I have to say. Because I think that it's a good movie, and we're always going to like it, even if we watch it like 10 years in the future. But I don't think that is that relevant. I think that it's like good entertainment, and it's like aesthetically well made. It has problems because of problems. It's not problematic, but it has like some flaws.
Yeah.
Because of when it was made. But I'm going to go with a 7.
I already wrote my score and it's a 7.
Oh, okay, cool.
I mean, this is definitely an above average film, like 100%. It's got issues, it's got flaws, like you said, but I don't care. I like this film.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the same way that for me and Event Horizon. There's like, I know it's not perfect. Well, in Event Horizon, I have to look away. It's more like, yep, that's not happening on the screen. That's not really what is happening there. I'm just going to be like just keeping in my mind the idealized version of this movie.
I'm going to add Event Horizon to our to be watched list. I know we already watched it, but because you like it so much, I need to rewatch it again. Well, I know you don't love it, but it's a guilty pleasure for you.
It's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
And I think that there are several other scenes that I have them with fire in my brain. How like this was amazing.
That's fine.
Yeah, but it's a different type of sci-fi than this.
Very different, very different.
Yeah.
This is the refined, beautiful, minimalist.
Yeah.
No gore, actually.
No.
Besides his
like
the director.
Yeah, the director that they actually do like a close up of the
but not much. Injury. It's very like restricted.
Yeah.
I'm really, really happy we decided to watch this. I liked this film a lot, and I was really happy to revisit it, even though I noticed flaws I hadn't noticed before. But it was really fun to go back and watch this, and watch it with you. It was really fun to watch it with you.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting experience because, as you said, we made fun of it quite a bit when we were watching it, and we felt like this didn't live up to our memories. Mm-hmm. And before we started recording, my score was going to be a 6.
Interesting. We really need to start doing that thing where we enter a secret score at the beginning of the podcast and see where it goes. Because, frequently our scores change.
Yeah. What was going to be your score?
I think I probably would have given it a 6 or a 6.5. But just talking about it, it's a nice film. It's nice.
Well, it's not only that it's a nice film, it's that we also come from seeing Blade Runner 2049 that it tried so much, so hard, and it failed. It just fell flat.
I would have liked to have seen a Blade Runner 2049 directed by this guy. Not with the budget that was given to Denis
Villeneuve.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. I mean, I think that I would need to watch more. I think that the scope of the Truman Show is also like another movie that it worked well on that. That is like this guy, at least with those 2 movies, that is like the only things that I think that it was from him is like he knows how to control himself. Villeneuve unfortunately doesn't. It's a pity, nice.
No, he does. When he doesn't have a budget. Enemy is a perfect film.
Yeah, and it's like the budget was like, what, 5 million?
I think it was 5 million, yeah.
And only for us, it was
5
just
million Canadian.
Money. Yeah, Canadian dollars. Just throwing the money at Jake Gyllenhaal. I mean, I would do that. I would actually just so much money.
I would just rub money all over his money.
And it's true that it's not my type, but that guy is
gorgeous.
It's true, he's gorgeous. But I actually look at him and I see like a talented actor. I look at Ryan Gosling.
Yeah. No, we're done.
We're done.
Thank you for watching Gattaca.
This friendship is over. But yeah, no. Anything else to say about Gattaca?
I would, of all the films we watched, even though this isn't perfect, I really want people to watch this film. If you haven't seen it, go watch this film. It's good.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think that is good entertainment, like quality entertainment, and we don't have, as we were discussing, it's like modern entertainment is becoming worse and worse.
It is. It is.
So I think that it's good to actually just look back at the 90s, and I think that there is a hidden gem that not everyone has watched. People remember Contact, I think, like way more than Gattaca. And Contact is not a good movie. is not a good movie.
Not to go off on a tangent, but we got into an Uber last night for like 15 minutes, and you said, what are the best sci-fi films from the 90s? And I was like, what are the sci-fi films from the 90s?
Yeah, and we mentioned several movies. The Matrix is 2000. There is a bit more. It's like, and I mentioned Aliens, that it was 89, and it's like, what happened in that decade? I know that they were sci-fi, and it
there
was
has to be. So, like, tell us what they are. We know they exist, but we couldn't really mention them.
No, and we checked, and it's like Contact was on that list, and Contact was super popular. And I didn't watch it. I was like, no, I want to read the book first. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I read the book. The book is great. It's like really, really good. And then I watched the movie and I was like, I don't want to be that person, but the book was better than this. There is a scene, you watch Contact, no?
Yeah.
Is that you remember that scene like with the girl is like just running in a very stupid way, and then you realize that everything was a mirror?
The last time I saw Contact was in theaters, so it's been a while.
Okay, I will show you that scene, because that scene is like memorable about like, wow, what witchcraft is happening here. But yeah, overall, go watch it if you haven't. For next one, that is my pick.
Yeah, what are we watching?
So I almost went with Under the Skin after just mentioning it, because it's like one that we mentioned, but I want to save that for later and just give you like...
I'm super excited for a second.
I know, I saw your restriction. Oh my god, yes. I want to see Scarlett Johansson naked again. Well, it was a
I
body
want to see
double.
her victims naked again.
Yeah, that was also so disturbing. But no... Or just seeing her like surprising because she doesn't have a vagina. But...
She gets so shocked.
Where's my vagina? No, that movie is great, and it's funny that we remember so much about it. You know, we watched it like, what, 5 years ago?
Yeah, and I still listen to the soundtrack today.
Oh,
it's a good soundtrack.
Great.
Yeah,
it's great. I remember like just being like perfect, disturbing kind of thing. But no, I wanted to go with something lighter, and there is this movie that I have in my queue for rewatching. You know, and I even like started 10 minutes like watching it with someone. I was like, we would just watch it another day. We were like too late, you know, for watching the whole thing. But it's one of the few comedies that I respect about saying like this is genuinely funny. So I want us to watch Best in Show. And besides that, you love dogs.
I love dogs. I've never seen it. I love Catherine O'Hare.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see this. I've been meaning to watch it for years, so this is a good pick.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else to say about Gattaca?
Nothing about Gattaca. It's been fun to be in Chicago. This is our last episode together in Chicago for now.
For now. Let's see, like, you know, like the next one, maybe it's in San Francisco.
Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. And to everyone listening to us, thank you so much for listening.
And wash your hands.
Bye.